Hey everybody, welcome back to Breakfast All Day. It's Christy, it's Alonso. It's another week. We made it through. Our dear friend Matt is still on sabbatical, but he is doing quite well. And there is no like David Miscavige's wife conspiracy going on. I've seen some weird comments out there. He's fine. He's just taking a little time away from the show, but you know, all is good with Mr. Matt.
Yes, all is not well with Meatloaf.
Well, so no.
We've got a lot of death for you today.
Yes,
Again, so much with the death.
January has been literally lethal.
Indeed. So we just learned today that Meatloaf has died. Apparently he died of COVID.
Yes.
Apparently he was a super anti-vax and was like, I still enjoy hugging people, and was critical of Australia's vaccine mandates. And said, if I die, I die. And he died.
Yeah, that's one of those quotes. It's not going to age well if it doesn't turn out. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry that he decided to put his faith into people who have turned a global health crisis into a political occasion. And that sucks.
It does. Our fellow Dallasite, Meatloaf, born Marvin a day.
Yep.
I'm so conflicted about when something like this happens because I've liked a lot of his songs. He's the inspiration for our opening song this week. And when you learn that someone is like out there posting, you know, like that Eric Clapton song, the Eric Clapton Van Morrison anti-vax song, and they're saying, you know, I'm still going to hug people and I'm not going to let the mask Nazis get me or whatever it was that he said. Like, does it retroactively change the way you feel about them as an artist?
I mean, you know, and again, we're going to get into that whole like, oh, separating the art from the artist thing, which is hard. And I don't even know if it necessarily always makes sense because the art is a product of that person and everything that that person is about. And so, I mean, yeah, I will still enjoy his performances in Fight Club and the Rocky Horror Picture Show and Spice World.
Who is he in Spice World?
He's the bus driver.
Oh, it's been a while.
There's a point where they ask him to clean out the bathroom in the back of the bus, and he says, "I love those girls, and I'll do anything for them, but I won't do that."
That's what that is.
Yes, but yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I think it is the kind of thing that sticks on somebody's legacy. Is like, oh, God damn it, you know, and it's just exasperating, and the fact that it was in this case deadly is just all the more like. I don't know what to do with that information, but here we are, you know.
I feel very conflicted. It's very frustrating. Yeah, I texted you the first thing this morning. I'm like, oh, Meatloaf died. And then I saw that he died of COVID. And I'm like, oh, God damn it, he died of COVID. I was so mad. It's just because you have a platform, you have a following, you have a voice, and you have an ability to use it for good and for right. And anyway.
Yeah.
So there's
and
that.
Not that everybody who dies of COVID has used the platform in that way, but no. He did.
He did. Louie Anderson also died.
Yes.
At age 68, he had been battling lymphoma, I understand.
Yes. That had been announced earlier in the week. So yeah, and that's a real tragedy. And I'll tell you, you know, we talked last week about Bob Saget and the way that people were remembering him. The Louie Anderson stories that are popping up today on Twitter from the comedy community are just amazing. And like, he was clearly beloved. He was incredibly talented. You know, if you saw him on Baskets, like that was an amazing performance, which he said he was basically just channeling his mother to play Christine Baskets.
I've never seen Baskets.
Oh, it's pretty great. But yeah, he was just super talented and a really good stand-up. And apparently, I mean, based on just the initial outpouring of remembrances from the people who worked with him, I have a friend who worked with him on a project recently, had nothing but lovely things to say about him, you know, while he was alive. Yeah, no, it's tragic.
He radiated kind of an innocent, pure sweetness
about
him, right? Whether or not his comedy was always pure and sweet, there was a I don't know, an angelic kind of way about his demeanor. Leon Talley died.
Yes.
Towering figure in fashion.
Legend Andre Leon Talley. Around this house, we constantly quote his line from the September issue documentary. There is a famine of beauty.
His story, yeah, he's in that. And then there's also a documentary about him that came out several years back.
The Gospel According to Andre, which is on HBO Max. If you have not seen it, it's a good time to catch up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in that, you know, he grew up poor in the South,
Yeah.
a young Black man in the very,
A Black gay man.
I guess, yeah, that too, I was going to say. And he totally built his entire persona, his entire empire,
his reputation,
to become incredibly influential in the world of fashion. Our friend Travell Anderson wrote a really lovely Twitter thread, remembering how Leon Talley was so influential to them and how they met and had a nice rapport and a nice sort of passing of the baton in terms of sartorial choices and fearlessness.
Yeah, they wrote about sort of, growing up and seeing Andre Leon Talley and feeling like having permission to be outsized and to be, to be grand and to be florid and flamboyant and all those things. And yeah, I mean, he was a character, but he also had like exquisite taste and was a real force in the industry.
Yes. Sundance has begun virtually. Have you been watching virtual Sundance?
I have been watching links of movies that are in Sundance that I've been getting as a press person, but I do have access to stuff. So I'm hoping to, at some point when things calm down a bit, because I'm doing a handful of reviews out of Sundance, but I'm putting through a lot of, like, the Wrap is doing a lot of review coverage, which I am editing. But yeah, I am hoping to find some time to hop in and catch some movies.
There's a thing they're doing where there's like a virtual avatar of yourself entering a movie theater to watch. So you don't feel like you're just sitting in front of your laptop or whatever. Like cartoon you is like walking down the aisle and finding a seat and seeing your friends and like sitting with them.
Oh, wow. Well, last year they had those kind of virtual avatar receptions after movies. Did you go to any of those?
I've never done Sundance in any form.
Oh, those were weird. And I kept trying to sort of like, well, I just couldn't figure out how to negotiate it with any kind of smoothness. And it was just, I mean, like, if I had encountered anybody I knew in one of those rooms, I might have tested it out more, but it was all just so weird. And I couldn't deal with it.
Hi, how's it going? Hi, who are you?
No, I mean, but yeah, you could actually talk, and then it would your avatar would you could record your voice. It would come out of your avatar head or something. I don't know. I'm glad they're doing it virtual again this year. I think that was the smart choice to make. And I'm already hearing some really, I'm hearing great stuff about some movies. Some movies are already wildly divisive. So this is what film festivals are for.
And this is what's tying up a lot of your day and week. Is editing Sundance, writing Sundance reviews and editing Sundance reviews. So the Wrap will have coverage.
Oh boy, howdy! Yes, go check it all out. Carlos Aguilar has already pegged A Love Song as like one of the absolute is guaranteed to be one of the highlights of 2022. He completely loved it. And Steve Pond wrote a really positive review for the Jesse Eisenberg movie.
That he directed with Finn Wolfhard and Julianne Moore.
Yes, whose title just flew out of my head. But
something about the end of the world, right?
Or when you finish fixing the world or something like that. Anyway. But already on Twitter, people are like, I love this movie, I hate this movie. So it's
Sundance.
Exactly. Yes, this is what we're here for.
There's a big New York Magazine story. Did you read this about Joss Whedon?
Oh God.
Joss Whedon sort of says, "Oh, like people just didn't understand what I meant," and it just a lot of justification and a lot of like explaining away a lot of the criticism about him being verbally abusive on set, sleeping with his actresses, and one of the things he said was like, well, I didn't want to just regret it for the rest of my life. Like, there she is. I didn't want to say, like, what if I'd fucked her?
There's two things going on here. One, the idea that this entire process has taught Joss Whedon nothing, and that he has clearly done no reflection, no work on himself, no sort of inventory of his shortcomings. And then secondly, that he lacks the understanding of how this just makes everything worse. Like, bad enough that you did it, but now you're going to give this interview and completely exonerate yourself, and like everybody else is the problem and they're all the bad guys, and it's like, oh my God, is there not one publicist, manager, friend in your life to be like, you know what, let's don't do this interview?
I bet he thinks he made it better.
Oh, I'm sure. Of course he does. He's like, let me explain me to you so that you can understand it. Despite what practically every person I've worked with for the last 15 years has to say about me and my behavior, you have to hear it from me. I'm gobsmacked. It's so remarkably tone deaf, and all it does is like resurface every shitty thing you ever read about him, because the people involved are like, really, we're talking about this again? Okay, well, let's talk about this again. Here are my receipts. I'm just stunned.
My favorite is the Gal Gadot story where he's like, oh, I didn't belittle her. It's just that English isn't her first language. And so she didn't understand what I was saying. And she responded, no, I understood what he was saying.
Loud and clear. Yeah, no, Ray Fisher, everybody was like not having it with this guy.
Oh, yeah, that was the thing too. Supposedly he had to like cut around Ray Fisher because his performance was so bad. And everyone's like, wait, you're telling on yourself. If you got a bad performance out of one of your actors, that's on you.
Well, plus the fact that like in the meantime, Zack Snyder's Justice League came out, and say what you will about that movie, Ray Fisher is one of the best things in it. Right. So it's like, no, we've seen that performance now, Joss, and it actually worked. So I don't know what your problem is.
Let's talk about the M&Ms.
Okay, I have been avoiding this story all week, not intentionally, but I've just been sort of skipping it. Walk me through this. What's happening with the M&Ms?
Eminem is rebranding the characters, like the walking, talking Eminem
the
characters.
Red one and the yellow one,
And they all have personalities,
yes.
But they are trying to make them more inclusive and more, not gender fluid, but like tamping down the gender stereotypes that they have represented in the past. And so like Green, for example, has worn go-go boots and is now going to wear sneakers. Red has been a bully in the past, and they're going to soften him and make him nicer. Orange is known for his anxiety, but he's going to embrace that and he's going to work through it. Like, it sounds like an Onion story. It sounds like a parody of like wokeness with the M&Ms.
Is
like,
yellow still going to be dumb, or like?
No. Well, here's the thing too. They've changed their shapes a bit. They're all not the same size and shape. And so like some are big and some are small, and that's okay.
Well, but some of the before were plain and some were peanut, right? I mean,
yellow is peanut.
Yellow was always peanut. So I don't think they were being sizist about it. I mean, all right, whatever floats your boat, M&Ms. I was not losing sleep over this, but great, fine, sure.
It is such a self-own, because it's going to be people just dunking on it. I mean, like, I may agree in spirit with like what the instinct was behind this, but it's so ridiculous. And did they think it's going to actively move the needle on M&M sales?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Also, like, what if you just did it and didn't make the announcement about it? And then that way, probably no one would notice, or very few people would notice. But if once you put this in a press release, it's like,
also,
yes, you're opening that door,
Also, Brown, the brown M&M, her heels are now lower. It's more like a block heel.
Okay,
like
kind of a wedgie.
A more sensible heel. I guess she had like a pointier heel before. And Brown and Green, the two women, are now going to team up to be supportive of women, to throw shine on them and not shade. It's so stupid. It's so stupid.
Okay. I do like the peanut butter ones. They're delicious.
They are. And like the pretzel ones, aren't there some pretzel ones?
Those are good too. Yeah.
Those are good. The combination of textures in your mouth.
There are no bad M&Ms that I know of. I haven't, I didn't know if I tried mint, but I mean, like, I think for the most part, like, they're M&Ms,
And now you can feel even better about eating M&Ms now that they are woke.
Exactly. Now that I know they are. But you know what? Is the chocolate fair trade? Let's cut to the chase and talk about things that really matter. I mean, come on.
Where is the packaging manufactured?
Yeah. Is it recyclable?
The dye. The dye. Is that bad for me? Anyway, many questions still to be answered. Mars. Okay, so we have other deaths. Can I go back to deaths? And we've had a little fun at deaths.
Yes,
all right,
please.
Marty Roberts of Marty and Elayne fame. All right, so maybe you've never been to Los Feliz or Los Angeles, or specifically the Dresden in LA. But Marty and Elayne were the house band there for decades, and they did these like kitschy but totally earnest covers. And jazzy kind of like disco covers. If you saw Swingers, you have seen Marty. I was going to say,
if you saw Swingers, for sure. That is, he was an LA legend. Totally. They were local heroes.
Marty Roberts, dead at 89. Vince Vaughn did a whole long interview with Rolling Stone about how he actually was friends with Marty and Elayne for years before Swingers, like 1989, when he first came to LA, he would hang out at the Dresden and got super into that whole, like before it was like, a scene.
Before the movie ruined it.
Right. Well, then he brought Jon Favreau there, and Jon Favreau wrote them into the script because it was a place that they actually hung out, and like it was a reflection of their experience as young aspiring actors in Los Angeles. And it was earnest, like it's like the way that if in Swingers they're doing a cover of Staying Alive, and it's like kind of cheesy, but like they mean it and they're having fun with it, and like there's the sparkly shirt down to your belly. I don't think I've ever actually been to the Dresden. Have you?
I went. It's been like 30 years when
they were there.
Yeah, they were when I moved to Los Angeles the first time in the early 90s. I did pop in to see them because this was before Swingers had happened, but they were definitely like known. People talked about them, and it was a thing you had to go do at some point. So I did go to Dresden and see Marty and Elayne, and they were terrific.
Was it fun?
Very fun. And yeah, you're right. There is a fine line with like, I think there's a difference between like, say, what somebody like Richard Cheese does to what, say, Sandra Bernhard actually is really good at this. If you ever see her live, she will do like an old like heart song or an old like kind of hair metal song, like Here I Go Again actually is one that she'll do, and she'll do it with such earnestness that it like gives the song like renewed meaning. A thing you've heard on the radio a million times, you think it's just kind of like cheesy whatever, like she'll mean it and bring real sincerity to it. And I think that's what Marty and Elayne would do.
Anyway, Marty, he lives on in many other forms. He was also in the Tom Petty "You're So Bad" video. There you go.
Wow. Okay.
Speaking of music, let's stay with music. We Don't Talk About Bruno. It's being talked about a lot. Did you ever see Encanto?
I did finally. Now that it's on Disney Plus, we just did a Max Film episode about it. Yeah, I thought it was terrific. I liked it a lot. Right.
And that is like clearly the best song in a movie full of catchy songs.
I mean,
Don't Talk About Bruno is the best one, I thought.
Dos Oruguitas is pretty great, but yes, absolutely. It is definitely the one you're humming at the end,
Anyway, apparently it is now a bigger hit than Let It Go ever was. And there is this fantastic video that's out there where they show how it has been translated into dozens of languages.
I saw you posted that. Yeah.
It's so cool. It makes me appreciate it all over again. And it's so seamless how it goes from like Japanese to Portuguese to Mandarin, whatever it is. And it's a really, really catchy song. And there's a whole article, I think, in the Wall Street Journal about the trickiness of like translating slangy phrases into different languages. And anyway, so
it may be a bigger like chart hit than Let It Go, but have we seen nearly as many YouTube videos of children singing it the way we did with Let It Go?
Oh,
because that was really where that song, cemented itself in the American consciousness or the global consciousness.
Indeed. Let's talk about Paul Walterhauser. Do you see what happened to him this week?
I did, and it concerns me, frankly.
Why?
Okay, let's explain what happened first.
So our friends at the New York Times, Manila Dargis and Tony Scott, did a thing that like is a pretty standard criticky thing to do around award season, which is pick what you would rather see get nominated.
Yeah,
right.
Like Siskel and Ebert did that. If we pick the Oscar show every year,
right? If we pick the Oscars, and Ignati and I did that too when we did our little show for 1 year. I mean, when I was at the AP, I used to do like will win, should have been nominated. It's standard.
Yes.
Not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
So Tony and Manola do this thing. It's on the front page of the Sunday art section in the New York Times. And it's got some movies that'll definitely be in the mix, like The Power of the Dog, for example.
West Side Story.
Totally. As mainstream as you can get. Spielberg doing a big musical.
Yes.
But I guess some people have thought that as elitist. It's elitist.
Yeah.
And
the Oscar pundits lost their shit over this. I actually have a piece about this coming out today on the Wrap. Roger Friedman and Sasha Stone and the usual suspects were like, oh, these elitist ivory tower pointy head, blah, blah, blah. How dare they? And they're trying to pretend like they're above the Oscars, but they still want to rub up on it and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, look, as you say, critics do this all the time because the Oscars have, through hype and money and all these other things, become, for a lot of people, the standard of honoring excellence in movies. And sadly, they do so in a way that most of us find to be achingly middlebrow. And so, yes, of course, we're going to be like, well, if this were on us, here's how we do it. Right. But anyway, yeah, for some reason, this year, this article, everybody lost their mind over.
And Paul Walterhauser was among them. Yes. And apparently he was getting into Twitter beefs with people where he like threatened to bodily harm them. And then he just up and quit Twitter.
Yeah. And so it's like, I just felt like it was like watching somebody have a meltdown. And you're like, oh my God, could somebody please give him a cup of tea and take him away from Twitter for a second? So like, I'm glad that he withdrew. I think that was the smart thing to do. I hope he's okay. And I hope he's calm now, because he was getting very upset over something that's not about him, not about mainstream Hollywood in general. It was just about these two critics picking what they consider to be the highlights of the year in various categories. It was like,
which in no way affects anybody else's enjoyment of Belfast, for example.
Yes. Or like Paul Walterhauser's like commercial viability. Like I don't know why he was taking this so personally.
So upset.
And I felt bad watching it happen. And I'm glad he separated himself from the fray.
We followed each other on Twitter, he and I, and now he's gone. I didn't actually even see any of the tweets. I just saw that he was gone.
Yeah, no, I saw some of it as it was happening. I was like, what's happening here?
Adam McKay also gets into Twitter beefs with people. He and Billy Ray are teaming up on a January 6th movie called J6. Billy Ray will direct. Adam McKay is among the producers, as is the guy who did that QAnon documentary series for HBO.
Okay.
Which I watched. I don't know that I need to relive all this now. And I don't know that I need to relive all this through that particular kind of lens.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think it's interesting to sort of understand where these phenomena come from, and that this didn't just sort of blossom up overnight. If you can lay down the backstory and the steps as to how we arrived to a moment like this in history, I think that's important to look at and to evaluate, and it could be dramatized effectively. I certainly don't want to get stuck in a position where if I don't like it, I get accused of being part of the MAGA mob. You know, Adam McKay showed.
No one's going to ever accuse you of being a MAGA person.
Look, everybody who didn't like Don't Look Up got accused of being pro climate change by Adam McKay and company. So I take nothing for granted anymore. Yeah, Adam McKay actually then got. Did you see there was an interview with like Onion AV Club or something where they asked him about his response to the backlash on Twitter and stuff, and he basically was like, oh, I was misunderstood, and then like continued to blame people who don't like his movie for everything. I'm like, oh God, stop talking is such a good piece of advice for Joss Whedon, for Paul Walterhauser, for so many folks who would benefit. Well, look, I do it myself. There are things I almost tweet all the time and I go, no, not going to do it. The world doesn't need to see that. I don't want to open that can of worms. Just going to not do it. And I think other folks would benefit from that instinct in their head that says, maybe don't share this with the world. Maybe it's not going to help. You
don't have to tweet every thought in your head all the time.
You absolutely do not.
Nobody cares. So next time I tweet something funny that my kid says, I'm going to remind myself of that. No one thinks your kid is funny, but you, Christy.
It could be empirically funny, but just think about it for a second.
Doesn't matter. Okay. So we just learned today that the next two Mission Impossible movies have been delayed yet again. All right. So Mission Impossible 7 is now supposed to come out in July of 2023. And Mission Impossible 8 is supposed to come out in June of 24. How mad is Tom Cruise?
And these movies shot in what, 2019, right?
One of them was supposed to come out this year.
Right, but remember there was that whole thing where where that great recording of him berating the crew for not wearing a mask.
Right.
That was 2020.
2020. But then when was he hanging off the wing of the plane? When is it? This is the same movie, right? There's a video of him like hanging off the wing of the plane.
I lose track. I mean, look, the audience will be there when they want to come out, but yeah, I'm sure he's not thrilled about this delay. None of us are getting any younger.
Tom Cruise is.
You're right. Point taken.
We have more Aardman coming our way soon.
Yes.
There's going to be a new Wallace and Gromit movie coming to Netflix. Plus, there's going to be Chicken Run 2 in 2023.
Very excited about both of those. With the exception of, was it Early Man? Is that the one? The soccer one, the caveman soccer one? Apart from that, I love everything Aardman does. Like the Shaun the Sheep movies. If you haven't seen Farmageddon, it's hysterical.
Totally.
So yeah, bring it on. More, I wish more people had seen The Pirates.
Oh, I love that movie so much. Pirates, Band of Misfits. Oh my gosh. That was on repeat in our house when Nick was like 2.5 or 3. Oh my God, so cute. I love that.
And of
so
course,
clever.
And of course, Arthur Christmas. I gotta put in a plug for that one. But yeah, they're great. So more, please.
This is the first Wallace and Gromit movie since Curse of the Were-Rabbit.
Wow.
And that was like 15 years ago, something like that. Anyway, so that'll be great. I look forward to that. Speaking of Christmas,
sorry, real quick. If you're an Aardman fan, do check out on Netflix, because I think there was in the last months of 2021, there was a new animated short, and then I think also like a new animated Shaun the Sheep short as well. So like they're creating stuff. They're just not all features.
Yes. Speaking of Christmas, I thought this news was going to be more exciting to you, and you did not respond the way I thought you would. And that is that there is going to be a sequel to A Christmas Story, and Peter Billingsley is going to star and produce. Why are you not pumped for this?
Well, here's the thing. There have been sequels to A Christmas Story before. There was a movie called A Summer Story that was based on other writings from Gene Shepard. It was also released under the title It Runs in the Family, and the parents are now played by Mary Steenburgen and Charles Grodin, and I think Kieran Culkin plays Ralph as like a teenager, and it's all about him getting a car. Then there was a Christmas Story, like a Christmas Story 2 sequel that somebody else made. Like we've been down this road before, and it's never turned out well. The fact that they are bringing back Peter Billingsley obviously gives us a little bit more of an air of legitimacy, and if we get more Melinda Dillon, hooray. But you've fooled me twice, fooled me more than twice now with these follow-ups to A Christmas Story. So if this one turns out to be good, wonderful, great. But this is already a path strewn with misfired attempts.
Well, it takes place in the 70s now.
Yes. Did you watch 8-Bit Christmas by chance on HBO Max?
No, I asked for a link for that and they never sent me one. Was it cute?
It was actually pretty charming. It's basically a Christmas story for the 80s, where a kid is obsessed with getting a Nintendo entertainment system. And of course, then it makes you do the math and realize, okay, wait, A Christmas Story was an 80s movie set in the 40s, and now 8-Bit Christmas is a 2020s Christmas movie set in the 80s. We're all old.
That's true. Wouldn't he want Atari? The 80s?
This was like 87, 88.
Okay, so it's a little bit later. I see.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of other tiny little things I got to hit.
Sure.
Production has resumed on the Black Panther sequel.
Okay.
Right. Because Letitia Wright had some issues, and also apparently Winston Duke has negotiated a significant raise for himself because he has a much larger role this time.
Okay.
Good for him.
Yes.
The Batman is going to run 2 hours and 55 minutes with credits.
Okay.
I really like Matt Reeves. I love his Planet of the Apes movies. I liked his remake of Let the Right One In. I'm a fan of his in general. So
I'm open to this being pretty good. He's the Cloverfield guy, right? Was that him too?
Yeah.
I think. But yes, no, the apes movies were interesting. I liked the Let the Right One remake was okay. Yeah, I just like, oh yeah, these movies didn't, as our friend Rachel from Rachel's Reviews pointed out, the best Batman movie is 80 minutes long, and she linked to Mask of the Phantasm.
He did do Cloverfield.
Okay,
you are correct. Bridgerton season 2 is going to begin on March 25th. There's so much television, you guys. Wait till you see our Patreon. The trailer and poster for Moon Knight came out this week, which looks interesting. We should probably do that. I suspect it's a Marvel series starring Oscar Isaac.
And speaking of actors who we lost, I believe Gaspar Ulliel is
I was going to get to him.
Right?
Yes, I was going to get to him. He died in a horrible skiing accident. He was only 37 years old. Gaspar Ulliel, who starred in Saint Laurent as Yves Saint Laurent.
And probably best known to American audiences for the not very good Hannibal Rising.
Oh, right. There is going to be a Lord of the Rings series coming to Amazon September 2nd. I have zero interest in watching that.
I never even finished watching the movies, so I'm not the guy to ask.
Let's not do it then. Cool. No. Joshua Jackson and Lizzie Kaplan are going to star in a Fatal Attraction TV series for Paramount Plus.
Yeah, and somebody pointed out that Joshua Jackson is actually now 1 year older than Michael Douglas was when he did the original Fatal Attraction in the 80s. I mean, look, he was already on an affair, or The Affair, so I mean, I guess this is a hop, skip, and a jump from there.
He's boyishly youthful as Pacey. If you're gonna boil a bunny, it should be for Pacey and not for Dawson, I say. So you have that. Daniel Radcliffe is going to play Weird Al Yankovic in a biopic. The Grammys will indeed take place after all. They were going to be here in LA at the former Staples Center, but because of COVID, not going to happen. Now it's going to be April 3rd in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand Garden Arena.
Yes, but tell us what's happening in Vegas about COVID.
What? Oh, Adele and
Celine, right?
Adele and Celine Dion canceled the rest of her tour because she has health problems.
Okay.
She had a residency, she had a tour, but she's canceled that. But Adele put out this very tearful video, like right as her residency is about to launch in Las Vegas, saying that like they just couldn't do it. They couldn't get it together in time. Like COVID has been such a plague that they have not been able to pull it together.
Yeah, this way, Omicron is hitting. Like I have known people along every step of this pandemic who have, tested positive and gotten sick. But man, Omicron is really like, the numbers are insane.
I have so many friends who have COVID right now, and they're all vaxxed and boosted.
Yes,
but they got it anyway.
Yes.
And I'm gonna end with some happy news. Adam Rippon secretly married his boyfriend, very hunky Finnish real estate broker named Jussi-Pekka Kajala, in secret on New Year's Eve.
Oh, good for them.
Yes.
Oh, did you hear about the other secret relationship news of the week?
Oh, yes. Anna Kendrick and Bill Hader are dating.
Yes. For like a year they've been dating and didn't say anything about it. So,
well, they could do it secretly because we're all home mostly now.
This is true. They've been dating on Zoom, I guess. So,
they're not out like having lunch at the Ivy, like going to places that, people go to shoot photos. Anyway, so Mazel Tov to Adam Rippon. They're so cute together because he's like, petite, slender little figure skater, and his husband now is like a giant tree trunk of a man. Huge, beautiful Finnish man.
As Paula Abdul and MC Scat Cat told us, opposites attract.
There you go. That's all I got.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for watching, everybody. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And as Christy mentioned, check out our Patreon. So much TV happening right now. We're making our way through the Book of Boba Fett because we are, but also now we're digging into the Peacemaker. There's a lot of other cool stuff very close on the horizon you're not going to want to miss. You get videos like this with no commercial interruption, special extra things like our Off the Menu segment. This week, we're talking about the late, great Sidney Poitier and the Best Picture winner, In the Heat of the Night. So stuff like that, you can only get if you're a subscriber. Become one at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. Have a good week. Take care of yourselves and each other. We'll see you next time.
Bye.